Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love 2 podcast, a show that gives you a real, raw, and behind-the-scenes view of one of the hardest jobs on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee with 10 years of experience and over 1,200 matches under my belt. You can find me at refsneedlove2.com, on Instagram, and on TikTok. This week, I hit an important milestone, had a fun ref mentor class, and a very controversial post. Let us dive in. So, first and foremost, I turned 49 this week. That's right, 49 years old. I was born in 1975. And I got to tell you, I felt great. I actually woke up. I had some things on my mind at like 4:50 in the morning. And at about 5:10, I normally wake up about 5:45. About 5:10, hopped up, got a good workout in, felt great, and then went off to work. And once I got to work, my desk was all decorated. My employees, people who worked for me, like gave me a crown and like a necklace and everything. And it was just wonderful. I got to go out to dinner that night with my wife and our two best friends here in Peachtree City. And we just had an absolute wonderful time. We saw some friends earlier in the night at a local restaurant. It was so wonderful. And I just have to say, yes, I'm 49 years old. But I feel great. I've got my health. Both of my parents are still alive. My wife is doing well and we're in love and we've got wonderful children who are doing well and they're healthy and happy. Life is good. I enjoy my life right now. I'm very thankful for my life. I feel very fortunate for my situation that I'm in life. I'm really fortunate for this channel and what it's given to me and all of the people that it's helped all around the world. So happy birthday to me. And, I am looking forward to 50. I got to tell you, I would love your suggestions. If you got any ideas for what I should do for my 50th birthday, I was thinking about doing some type of adventure. Definitely let me know. Would love to hear from you. I mean, I'm thinking about something in the mountains, maybe Iceland. I don't know, Patagonia, something. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a family trip. I know it's going to upset my family, but I think I want to go do something, for me. And really adventurous. I would love your ideas and suggestions. I'm not going through a midlife crisis. I'm going through a midlife awakening. That's what it is. It's a midlife fun. I don't want to wait till I'm 70 before I start really doing something, fun and out there and different. So send those ideas over. You can send it to me at refsneedlove2@gmail.com. Okay. The Caicedo Challenge. And I'm talking about the League Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool, which Liverpool won late in extra time off a Van Dijk header. But earlier in that match, there was a challenge where I believe it was Soboslai, I believe that's his last name, how you pronounce it, was injured. And I tell you, if you look at a still frame image, it looks really, really bad. I mean, there's pressure down from Caicedo on this guy's foot, and it looks like it could be ankle maybe, and it rolls over, and he went off injured. It was ugly. I'm sure it was outrageously painful. And people are wondering, how in the world was it not a red card? How was it not a red card? And there is no voice out there in the world, from the Football Association or from the Referee Association in England, to try and explain why it might not have been caught or why it wasn't. The considerations weren't there for it to be a red card challenge, because people look at the injury and they look at a still frame image and they're like, how is it not a red card? Well, let me explain. First and foremost, this challenge on the field was not even whistled for a foul. Okay? No foul, no yellow card, no nothing. I guess I think there was an advantage played. I think the ball stayed in Liverpool's possession, and they dribbled out with the ball from their defensive half and played on, and then eventually they stopped play from the injury. If I've made a mistake, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's how it went down. And the challenge of this, I use the word challenge, the difficulty of where this thing happens adds to why it was not whistled as a foul or carded, because this challenge actually happens as the Liverpool player is running back towards the center of the field out of their defensive third of the field, and the Chelsea player is on the inside of him. So this is on the AR2 side of the field. Liverpool players on the outside by the touchline. He's trying to play it towards the center field, towards one of his teammates. As he kicks the ball, the Liverpool the Chelsea player is like planting their foot to kind of cut back inside to go chase the next ball, if you will. And Liverpool player's foot kind of comes underneath the Chelsea player as he's pivoting. And the AR2 is going to be all the way down by the the penalty area, not the 18-yard box, the penalty area. So they're not looking at the challenge. The fourth official and the AR1 are on the far side of the field, and the center referee is about 15 yards infield of the play, and he would be looking through the Chelsea player on the challenge here. But they don't see anything. Even on the commentary, they don't say anything about this challenge. All they see is a player kicks it. Liverpool player's foot. He's actually looking back upfield because he's going to, go chase that ball that's just been passed away by his opponent. Okay. So he's not leaving his feet in a lunging tackle. There's no crazy like wild studs going flying or anything like that. But he does indeed come down with his foot as he's about to step off and kind of pivot and make a turn on top of the Liverpool defender's foot. Okay, the right or left back's foot. Okay, it is painful, but it is not what I would consider to be, your classic serious foul play red card. It wasn't a clear and obvious error that VAR is going to get involved in and say, oh yeah, you need to come look at that. That's serious foul play. No, it was a bad challenge. It was unfortunate that someone got hurt, but it's not a clear and obvious error. So you go back through this, we don't have all of our considerations. There wasn't excessive force and brutality. He didn't come down like high above the ankle or something like that, or right on it. It was kind of on the top of the foot and then his foot rolled. Okay. It's not, our classic serious foul play red card. And I know if you're a Liverpool fan, you're like, oh my gosh, it's always against Liverpool. It's like, no, it's not. Okay. But I wish there were some other people, who would be able to go toe to toe with the pundits and the commentators out there screaming about how was this missed and start talking about, okay, let's talk about the reality of what actually happened on the pitch. Which member of the referee crew would see that? Okay. And then the video assistant referee can't recommend yellow cards, right, for a reckless challenge. So you're not going to get that. And then is it a clear and obvious error for serious foul play? I don't think it was. But this piece of evidence, or say evidence. I mean, it could be admitted into a trial. Doesn't mean it has to be, actually good quality evidence, right? But this is being used as, all referees are crap. And how could that be a red card if this isn't a red card or something like that? And it like hit me this week when people use these one singular instances and the one singular still shot, like to try and prove a point. It's like saying, oh, it's cold today. There's no such thing as climate change. It's like, no, man. That's the weather. That's not climate science. Let's look at what's happened over the last 10 years. You can't look at one call and say, oh, all referees are, against this team, or all referees don't know what they're doing. That referee who worked that final did a phenomenal job. Made probably a couple hundred decisions in that game that were fantastic. Okay, they missed the contact at that one, but let me explain why and how hard it is at the field level to see something like that. It just drives me nuts. I hate how people get so fired up about an individual play like that, but no one is out there really advocating for the referee and showing them all of the things that go into that decision and all of the views of the different refs out on the pitch to really understand why that was so hard for everyone to see. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. All right. Another thing this week that happened to me, I had a post go pretty viral, I would say. And when I say kind of viral, I mean, for me, if my posts on Instagram or TikTok get 10,000, 20,000 views in a day, that's pretty common. And that's not a brag. I'm just telling you that's the general kind of average post that I do, about 10 to 20,000 views in a day. If I have a post that does 100,000, 500,000, I had a post a couple weeks ago that had over 1 million views in a day. That's a lot for me. I mean, it's pretty big. It's pretty viral. And when you have a post like that, it usually means that there's something a bit controversial about it, meaning that people have different perspectives and different ideas about the post. But my gosh, I did not think I was going to get so much hate about this. So the post was actually about my personal fastest red card ever. Okay. It was in an MLS Next U14 game. and a player takes a very heavy touch. Okay, this is right off the kickoff. They pass it back, goes to the center back, goes to the left back, goes to midfield. And midfielder takes a heavy touch, and they start dribbling, or they try and chase the ball down midfield, take like 4 or 5 strides to try and catch up to the ball. And instead of just staying on their feet and trying to have a proper tackle, this kid actually leaves his feet 2 feet off the ground, 2-footed. One of his feet goes straight out into the kind of right above the ankle, side of the shin, calf of the opponent. And I'm talking, man, when this thing was so loud when he hit it. Thankfully, this kid's wearing shin pads. It could have been a lot worse, but it was a crunch. And I knew that it happened. I mean, I knew exactly what it was when I saw it, but still, it was early in the match. Tensions were not high. No one was running around screaming at me. So I checked on the kid who got hurt. I called on the trainer and the coach because I knew it wasn't getting up fast. I mean, I know this kid. He's a good kid. I've reffed him before, and my gosh, he was in unbelievable pain. And so I called him on. Then I isolate the person who committed the offense. And first I should say I whistled and called direct free kick first off. Okay. Should have said that first. But I isolate the kid who commits the foul so that I don't lose him, because I knew I was carding him. I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure it was going to be a red card. I didn't want him to walk away and me not know who committed the foul. So I isolate him over to the side, like on the sideline, on the AR2 side of the field. I kind of walk backwards so I can keep my eye on everyone. And I bring over my AR2 and I'm like, hey man, did you see what I just saw? He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's serious. I mean, did you see the contact? I'm like, yeah, it's serious foul play and a red card 20 seconds in. You saw that too, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go back over, I calmly walk over. I explain serious foul play, lunging tackle with studs, excessive force, contact high above the ankle. It's serious foul play and a red card. And I show him the red card. And then I jog over to the other side of the pitch. And, because it was completely on the other side of the pitch, I go over, I explain it to the coach, he totally understands, all good. And, I move on with the game. Great. Okay. I really am like, oh my gosh, it's like the clearest thing, that you could possibly do as a referee. I thought, hey man, everyone should agree with this one. Well, the hatred that I got online, like some of these comments about, he didn't tackle for the player. He tackled the ball and kicked the ball, but had unintentional contact with the opponent after that. Is that really a red card? Okay. And that was a nice one. That wasn't bad. I mean, I had people direct message me and send me some really vicious, nasty things. Like you guys see things here, like on my channels and read people's comments. But you don't see what people send me in direct messages. I mean, people just straight out cuss at me and say very ugly things directly to me. But here, this guy writes, you say full force, stud shown, excessive force does not match the video. You want this to be about you, really shamely. Yellow card and move on. Let the kids play. Stay off your ego trip. So somehow, a kid flying through the air, no feet on the ground, full force, running as fast as they can, sliding studs up into someone's, shin area, like above the ankle, like right on that ankle area as well, is not full force somehow. And it's my ego. That is the reason why I showed a card. I'm like, oh my gosh. And again, I get these things, horrible ref, shaking my head, all of that kind of stuff. But I mean, I just could not get over how much negative, like real anger about, he hit the ball first. It's a soccer play. How can you give a red card on a soccer play? This one writes, that's not good refereeing. You just ruined a kid's day that made a tough challenge. I mean, like, what? Definitely a yellow card and a pep talk. Absolutely not a red at youth level. Like, what? You want me to say good job to the kid who flew into that challenge and almost literally broke some kid's leg? Are you kidding me? I mean, I seriously, about half the comments on this video talk about, it's never a red card. He got the ball first. I mean, my gosh, it has been 20 years since, any mention of getting the ball might negate or lessen the severity of the foul or card or something in nature. I mean, it's like, geez, like, wow. And then the anger at me for, to make that call based on what I showed, like slow motion and freeze frame. It's amazing. It's amazing. Here's one more as I go through. Awful call, truly atrocious. He had the ball and was clearing it out. Bad placement by the defense to be there. So it was the guy's fault who played the ball fairly, and it's his fault for getting crushed. His stud. Oh my, his fault. I don't know, man. It was just a fascinating one. Just lots of people saying, it's a horrible call, ego trip from the referee, horrible decision. It's just, my gosh. I mean, I don't know. I wish, there were some, ways that we could really, at a higher level and beyond my little channel, really show fouls, short form content, making it available to referees, to coaches, to spectators, to parents, to really help everyone understand what's a careless foul, what's a reckless foul, what's serious foul play. I mean, even in our trainings that we get as referees, I mean, it's almost never happens. I mean, when I know my US soccer certification here in the US, I don't ever remember there being videos showing the difference between careless, reckless, serious foul play, or just normal contact. Ever. You're just, I guess, supposed to figure it out as you go. And I'm a referee. Can you imagine everyone else who's out there, the players, the spectators, the coaches? They never get that training. And most coaches were players 20 years ago and played under completely different rules. So they have such a different understanding. I recognize that maybe 20 years ago, it might have been, no call or maybe just a common foul or something like that. All good. But now, man, I tell you, when I see people talking about intent, he didn't intend to hurt the other player, or, he had his eye on the ball the entire time, whatever it is. It's just got the ball first, then contact. I'm like, geez, power control bullshit, giving a card that early. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm just a man trying to do my job as a ref, trying to keep people safe. That is it, man. That is it. Gosh, I swear. One time, I'm just going to start saving up all of these, the really nasty things that I get. Normally, I don't respond to people when they send me really ugly, nasty things DM. I just report them and block it because I don't want to give them the, any energy or feel like they've got me riled up by responding to them. I just, I delete it. But I tell you, I might just for like a couple weeks just start saving those just to call them out. I mean, it's just, it's just fascinating. All right. Well, just wanted to share that. I will say there were plenty of referees who talked about it and said, horrible tackle, great call. I mean, just, it's, really saying, yes, as a referee, it's the right call and all that kind of stuff. But it's, I was amazing how many people still talk about getting the ball first, negating a foul, which is crazy. All right. Next thing I want to go over with you guys just real quick is I did another session with Soccer in the Streets, which is an organization I volunteer for here in Atlanta. They provide free soccer services here in Atlanta in some of our most socioeconomically challenged neighborhoods. They transformed unused space under our rapid rail system, parking lots and things of that nature, into soccer pitches, and they provide free soccer programs throughout Atlanta. They provide jobs because they hire coaches, they hire referees, you name it. They do wonderful programs in the schools all around Atlanta on leadership and teamwork and nutrition. They do grief, dealing with grief and trauma, because a lot of these kids deal with trauma and grief and all these types of things. But I volunteer to go talk to their coaches. And this last week, I did my own referee class. It was so much fun on my own for the first time doing it. It was great. So I'm just going to share some of the things that I shared with them. Obviously, I'm not going to take you all through it. I know I've done a number of posts lately on being a mentor and what we've done as a mentor, but I'm just going to talk to you about what I did. And the first thing that I did is just wanted to, short story time. I gather around is like literally on a Friday night. And this is a true story. My first year as a high school ref in a duel. So 2-ref system, brutal, awful, highly competitive match, really heated. And I was followed out to my car with parents yelling at me behind my back, telling me that I was the worst ref ever, like screaming at me, like, oh my gosh, seriously, my gosh. The very next day, Saturday morning, club game, okay, beautiful sunny day outside. After the match, like U14, U15, I had coach, player, and a parent come up to me and say I was the best ref they ever had. So literally 24 hours apart, I had one person screaming at me, "You're the worst ref ever." Very next day, "You're the best ref I ever had." Like, who's right? Am I the worst ref ever? Am I the best ref ever? I don't think either one of them were correct. I'm probably someplace in between. But the important thing to remember is that even when you do a great job at a ref, there are some people who are still not going to be happy. And if you try and make everyone happy, like not calling fouls, you will end up making no one happy. So just do your job, give yourself some grace, and, try and do the best that you possibly can, but you can't control how people are going to feel about you. That's just all you got to say. So I did actually do a story on Instagram. I wish it showed up on my page, but I didn't understand how stories work. And I did a story saying, hey, I'm going to be going to a mentor class. Can you share with me advice for new referees? What would you say to them? And so one of the clearest things that came up, the most amount of time, is make your calls loud and clear. It is so frustrating as a coach or a player or a spectator to not understand what call was made or why a call was made. And I know we don't have gestures like in basketball or in hockey or something like that, or American football, but I do sometimes. If someone's pulling jersey, I'll kind of make a pulling motion. Say, I saw you pull them. If someone, trips them, I'm not going to like do a trip or anything of that nature, like showing where it's a trip or anything like that. But I do say, hey, I saw you trip the player, and I'm going to, explain that to someone. You came in a little bit late. Yes, you got the ball, but you also got the man. And I talk about that out loud so that the players understand what happened, the coaches understand what happened, and the spectators. I'm not speaking to the spectators. I'm not speaking to the coach. But when everyone knows what's going on, no one's screaming about the call. They've heard my reasoning. Even if they disagree with it, at least they know what I'm calling. They know when I'm calling, direction on a throw-in. They know if it's a direct free kick. They know if it's an indirect free kick. They hear me loud and clear when it's a corner or it's a goal kick. Man, just being clear with your communication and your body language, showing, hey, it's a throw-in. Yeah, it's a direct free kick, whatever. Just being clear in your communication makes such a big difference, especially at lower youth level for recreational matches, U10, U8, U6 when you're starting out. Man, just getting those basics down and using your referee voice is so important. The second thing that a couple people different said was stick with your calls. Like if you make a call, stick with your call. Okay. Changing your calls or being wishy-washy, with your signals, whatnot, is going to cause people to argue with you. Okay. Again, in the absence of authority, people will try and jump in and provide authority or provide opinion. So if it's clear, it's a sharp whistle, whatnot, and a clear, call, stick with your call. Even if you might have made a mistake, just stick with it. You thought it was the call, you made the call, just go for it. Obviously, if you pointed the wrong direction or oops, I made a mistake, just tell everyone you made a mistake, whatever, do a drop ball or something nature. But man, 99.9% of the time, if you've made the call, stick with your call, all good. All right. On that, don't be afraid to make a call. People hate referees who don't make calls. That's right. When I show up at a match and someone says, yeah, I'm just going to let them play. I'm not going to be too tight on it. I'm just going to let them play. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are in for like an awful afternoon. Serious. Because if you don't make calls, well, then everyone fills in the vacuum of no calls, and the parents start screaming for calls, and the coaches start screaming for calls, and the players start screaming for calls, and then everyone's screaming at the referee, and then the referee is in reactive mode. Instead of calling a foul because they believe it's a foul, they just start calling fouls because maybe it will stop people from screaming at me. But no, it's just going to cause them to scream at you more because they've seen they've gotten to you. Oh my gosh. Make calls. I know when I first started, I would let calls go because I didn't think it was a big deal, but then you lose control of the game. Don't referee as a player, referee as a ref. You're there to call fouls. If fouls occur, call them. The other thing I talked to him about, every ref at every level makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. I make mistakes every single game. There's some mistakes. Sometimes they're small mistakes. Often they're small mistakes, but sometimes they're big mistakes. It happens. And you will make mistakes early on. It's okay. You're going to miss a whistle or forget to whistle for a foul, or maybe you didn't think it was a foul in the moment, but you thought about it a couple seconds later and the play's already transitioned, whatever. It happens. Maybe you're going to point the wrong direction. Whatever. It happens. Maybe you regret not giving a card to a player where you could have given a card to a player or a coach, or dismissing a parent. Those are all learning experiences. You will learn. It's okay. The most important thing is to learn something new every single day. It's nice to reflect on your performance, after the match with your fellow referees. If you do have fellow referees in your match, even if you don't, just thinking about how the match gone. But then once you leave it behind. Don't dwell on it. Just learn from it, be better, and be more proactive next time. The next thing I talked to them about, again, don't be scared. Use your cards if needed. Again, we went through, blowing the whistle, and we went through showing a card and all that kind of stuff. It's okay. If you know that you've got a reckless challenge, okay, show that card. If you know that someone has thrown a punch, throw that card for that red card for violent conduct. Trust me. Once you do it your first time, it's going to be scary, but every time after that, it'll be easier because you'll feel more confidence. Use your cards. If you know it's a card-worthy foul, by all means, show it. Next thing, someone will always think you are wrong. Okay, because people are not looking at the fouls as referees and objective. They're looking at the fouls as a player on a team, so they're biased. As a parent of a player on the team, so they're biased. Or a coach with players on their team, they are biased. Okay, they are biased. And even if you make the call 100% right, people are still going to possibly argue or disagree. It's going to happen because you have a different perspective, a different view on the pitch. You're in a different position and you've seen something different from them. And they might feel absolutely sure that they are right. The only decision that matters, though, is yours. Be decisive, be clear on what the call is and where the restart is, and move on. Tell them, ignore the parents. Be prepared to hear grumbling. You are. Again, they're emotionally invested. They're going to grumble. It happens. It's okay. Coaches, they're going to grumble too. But they appreciate you and know that without you, there is no game. Know that. They are important to the process. And sometimes you're going to need to communicate with them as well. To that point of the process, no one gets 10 years of experience in one day, 1 month, or 1 year. No, you cannot be a 10-year experience ref in 2 months. It takes 10 years. So don't expect you're going to be as good as someone who's been reffing for 10 years in a month. It takes time. And I just kept on trying to remember again, you can only do the best you can do. Just try your best. Be clear in your communication. Be confident in your calls. That is what is most important. We went over some other basics too, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this again, because I've talked about this previously about looking credible and looking confident, being friendly, having fun. So important. All of these things are so critical. We did some positioning on the pitch, and we had them making their mechanics and calling for those penalty kicks and showing cards and all that type of stuff. And then we did probably the most amount of time as we spent talking about dissent and recognizing what is dissent and what is not dissent and how to deal with it if it happens. Okay. If you have someone engaging in public dissent, and critiquing your calls, persistent dissent every time, spectator going to the coach. And what do you say to the coach? Do you say to the coach, hey, coach, go tell that person to calm down? No. That doesn't make sense. We want them to be excited and cheer for their kids. So we're not want them to calm down necessarily. But what we do want them to do is, coach, Those parents are engaging in public, persistent dissent. It's affecting my ability to control the match. Please go ask them to stop, or there will be consequences. And I know that's a lot of big words for a teenager to say. I'm not expecting them to use those exact words, but tell the coach the behavior that is the problem and ask them to help you control that behavior, or they will be dismissed. Tell them specifically what's going on. It's the same thing when I talk to coaches myself. I'm a 49-year-old man. If someone is engaging in public persistent dissent, I use those exact words. I'll give them the warning. Coach, you are engaging in public persistent dissent. If you do not stop, there will be consequences. That is literally what I say on the pitch. That is what I say, because I want them to know I'm not having an argument about the calls at all. It's not my behavior. It's their behavior. And I make sure they know I've used the word dissent. I've told them what's going on. So when I come back with that yellow card, coach, I have warned you. I am now cautioning you for engaging in public dissent. If you do not stop, there will be consequences. And that's what I say. So trying to give them the confidence to have those conversations. For soccer in the streets, they always have a field administrator there who they can go to if they're having an issue with a coach or the parents. No dissent from coaches at all is acceptable in that league. They are very, very tough on that there, because it's all about creating these positive learning experiences for the players and the families there. And they want it to be a wonderful learning, welcoming environment for everyone, including the referees, which is fantastic. You know how much I love that. And so I just kind of finished with them and I told them, the most difficult things in life are the ones worth doing. Getting good grades. It's not easy for most people. You got to work at it. Staying fit. My gosh, again, I'm 49 years old, but I feel really fit right now. That means I get up at 5 a.m. to go work out, starting a new business, or a new podcast, or a new merchandise and all that kind of stuff. Not easy, man. It was hard. Learning a new language, and being a referee. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I really do. All right, I'm going to finish off real quick with a letter from the mailbag. I always love going to the mailbag. I had kind of a sad one come to me this week, which is, never fun. This one's from England. He wrote me, this was a 15-year-old referee working in a 14-year-old match, and says, unfortunately, I was the victim of referee assault on Sunday when I was spat on by a player. The player had committed a foul, not reckless, but careless. I went over to have a word with him, and they said something I couldn't quite hear, and it sounded like he called me a C-U-N-T. I informed the player, that, did you say that? And then the player started to, I'm just reading it from the next one. The player started to square up to me and said repeatedly, what you going to do? What you going to do? Like fronting him, like coming up to him. And so the referee cautioned him, called a C1AA. And then he refused to give him his name. So I guess he didn't have a number on the back. And so then continued to argue with the referee and I guess not give his name after multiple warnings, and subsequently, led to a red card. And then he spat at him and then definitely called him C-U-N-T out loud. This is a 14-year-old kid. This is a 15-year-old kid as the referee. So 15-year-old kid having to act like a mature, calm adult, trying to, deal with someone who is obviously irate and ridiculous. And it's a 14-year-old kid. Are you kidding me? Spitting at someone is disgusting. It's awful. It's just so sad to see that. And I continue to message with this young referee. He has dreams of eventually reffing in the Prem. And I just wanted to tell him, man, it's like, don't let this sad person, ruin what you love. Okay. He is sad. He probably doesn't have love at home where he is. Don't let his sadness, bring you down. Stay strong, focus on, doing the best that you can do. And, you just continue doing, the best you can. It's pretty much the summary of what I said to him. But, we can't let those people who seek to hurt us and bring us down, ruin our love for what we do. And that's a fact. So, all love to you out there, Alex. Hey, just one more message real quick. I got this one from an NCAA Division I coach, and they wrote, hey, mate, great account. Love the content. I coach women's soccer at NCAA Division I level. I'll just kind of go forward here. He said, early in my coaching career, I definitely gave referees a hard time. I'm not proud of that. I put it down to the passion after the game, but the truth is I was naive. I have a whole new perspective these days and appreciate the jobs you guys do. The task at hand is nothing easy. The quick decision-making, the critical awareness, I respect that. And I respect I respect that massively. I think every parent, every coach should have to referee a game at some point. I think it would really change the mindset of fans and coaches. It may help inspire others and tackle the referee shortage. Always all the best, and I look forward to your posts. So thank you, sir. So appreciate you, and I love that they have seen referees in new light after listening to my channel and the podcast and all that kind of stuff and watching my posts. So cool. Well, hope you guys enjoyed today's pod. Again, I'm feeling 49, feeling great. I think there's so much for us to do on the communication front as it regards to referees and helping referees support decisions. If the pro refs aren't going to speak out, someone needs to speak out because we need to tackle all of the misinformation that is out there online. And again, just developing our new referees. There's so much that we can do as experienced referees to give back and help prepare these young referees to be able to deal with the challenges they will experience on the pitch, dealing with coaches, dealing with parents. If we can give them the tools and the words, hopefully they can survive and eventually thrive as a referee. Again, thank you so much for your time. If you like the channel, please consider supporting the channel, going to refsneaklove2.com, pick up some merch. Again, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram, on my website, everything. Love and respect. Oh my gosh. And I wish you next match with Red Card.